COBOL tips and code open. Type listing load program. Checkcon. Hi everybody, this PPT was made by Nestor ACHA. The notes will be read by the automatic voice of Word Office. Thank you very much for being interested in seeing it. Introduction. Before we start learning COBOL, we need to have an accessible environment in which we can compile and test our programs. We are using OPENCOBOLIDE. On the web you can find many videos that will guide you in the installation. Considered correctly installed when the Hello World demo program has already been successfully executed. You can return to this video when you have it installed OPENCOBOLIDE. Management of files. To work at COBOL, we consider file management very important. When we refer to a file, we need to know its structure, which we define in an Excel, indicating the following characteristics of each field or data contained in the file. Name. It is recommended that it be mnemonic and prefixed, for example INP code. Tells us which is the code field of the INP file. Initial position indicates the position in which the data begins. Length tells us how much the data measures. Type, whether numeric, alphanumeric, or otherwise. Decimals, number of decimals, only if the field is numeric. Sign, only if it is numeric. The design of our input file called file input. File input design. Filler is usually put to fields that are not used, but that are reserved for future extensions. It is also usually initialized with spaces. Our test file is located in the path c:/opencobolide /inp-0002.txt. We have put an asterisk character in the last position of the record only for didactic purposes, to indicate that there the record ends. We recommend putting a guide rule to create data with Notepad in a txt file. In the last slide and in the description of the video, you will find the link to download the PPT and copy the code necessary to enter the OPENCOBOLIDE. This program uses the same listing pattern, the only difference is that instead of listing the data, you will record them in the indexed employee file. Result of execution. Here we show the result of the execution. You must obtain the same values. Explaining the program. Please focus only on the program we are studying. Try to master this pattern of listing load program, which with some small changes can serve you for many real-life processes.
Identification and data areas.
Identification division. Mandatory. Program ID, CCON0002. Mandatory. Environment division. Mandatory. Input-output section. Mandatory with files. File control. Mandatory with files. Organization indexed, it's an indexed file. Record key EMP code, it's the key in the record. Note that although the employee file is indexed, its access is sequential, because the data is gone. To enter in ascending order, and it is necessary that the input file is ordered that way.
Identification and data areas.
Program Work Area. Every listing load program has classic fields of work. Program Logic Area. Observe the elements that are mandatory or advisable. Note that when the date of the day is displayed, note how the day, month, and year are referenced separately using the offset length method, i.e. the initial position of the data and its length.
Program Logic Area.
Observe the elements that are mandatory or advisable. Perform read input. Mandatory read at end of the process paragraph.
Program Logic Area.
Observe the elements that are mandatory or advisable. Theory applied to the this type listing load program. It is opportune to review an interesting theory that tells us the following. Every listing load program runs a startup process once and once. Every listing load program runs the record process n times, with n being the number of records in the file. Every listing load program executes an end process once and only once. I would call this video learning and doing, although I will try to explain what you will need to program productively. We will study the three main processes of a type listing load program: beginning, process, and end. The logic is very similar to the listing type program. The only difference is that instead of listing it records an output file. Theory applied to the this type listing load program. In the start process of a listing load program, the following must be done. 1. Get the date and time of the system. 2. Open the files. 3. Validate that they opened well. 4. Read the first record of the file. 5. Write the first title if required. In the record process, the following must be done. 1. Move the fields of the read record to the exit. 2. Write the data to the output. 3. Accumulate 1 to the record counter. 4. Read the next record of the file. In the END process, the following must be done. 1. Write the control totals. 2. Close the files. 3. Validate that they closed the files well. 4. Finish the program with stop run. The latest. An expert COBOL programmer has programmed schemes that he will reuse according to the situation, but what must always be maintained on good practices such as underline paragraphs, a good indentation to align verbs and words, pick, from, to, value. Use preset field names with W if they are working, with R if they are report, with T if they are tables or totals, with F if they are files. Use only letters, numbers, and hyphens in names. Use a lot of commentary helping to understand who is going to read our program. All these recommendations can be searched on the web and should be of additional use to the standards of the facility you are working on. Thank you very much for your attention and good luck.